Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, welcome to a special edition of Oilers After Dark. My name is Matt. Very special edition. Today we are going through the NHL preview, the whole 32 teams, 4 divisions, 8 of the best from each division. So, as you can imagine, it's going to be a longer video, so I apologize in advance, but I hope you enjoy it. Let me know in your comments if I was wrong on anything, if I'm out to lunch on anything, I nailed anything, hit the nail on the head. Just let me know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. We're going to start in the Atlantic Division for obvious reasons. Now, as you see here in this graphic, I have it in alphabetical order, but I will go through it in alphabetical order and explain why I have it the way I have, where I have them, and whatnot. So, coming up first, the Boston Bruins. Last season, they had 135 points, best in the league. They're not going to be that good this year. Main reason why I personally don't think they're going to be very good is Bergeron's gone, Clifton's gone, Krejci is gone. They're missing the core of this team. And that's what made this team so good, was Bergeron. I think the captaincy of Bergeron helped this team immensely in the locker room and morale-wise. It's going to be an interesting year. I think it's going to be a down year for this team. And it's a bad year to have a down year, especially in the Atlantic Division, because as the other teams that were weak last year are now moving up, they've kind of dropped down. That's why I've got them where they are. The Buffalo Sabres finished with 91 points with a record of 42, 33, and 7. Barely missing the playoffs last year. I have them barely missing the playoffs again this year. They just don't have the goaltending for me. Their departures were Anderson, Hidden Zota, Bishop, Sheahan. They've only really added Clifton and Eric Johnson. Yes, they've got better on defense, if that could be possible when you've got Darlene and a power back there. But they have gotten better on the defensive side. It's just their goaltending is suspect. They'll see. That's why I have them on barely missing the playoffs again this year. We move over to Detroit. Not a good year last year for Detroit by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not going to be good this year either. Departures are Ernie, Oilers PTO, Bertuzzi, he's in Toronto, Kubalik. They've got a plethora of departures. They've got a bunch of arrivals as well. Comfort, DeBrincat, Cope, Gossesbear. They've got pieces. Again, it's going to be goaltending. Can they out-save their defensive problems? They can try and outscore them. But as an Oilers fan, I know what it's like to try and outscore your defensive deficiencies. It doesn't work. It won't work. So we move on to Florida. The Panthers last year were a surprising team for some, not surprising for others. And they will continue to not surprise people. They're going to be second in the Atlantic Division. Sure, they lost a few players, but they added a few key ingredients that'll make them stronger and better. They've got the goaltending tandem. They've got the forwards. They've got the skill. They can put it all together with the defense. I think they'll be okay. I'm looking forward to this. Moving on to the Montreal Canadiens. Sorry, Canadian fans, yet again. Bottom feeders in the East. Bottom feeders in the Atlantic Division. Just didn't do enough. You didn't do enough to be better now. A couple of years from now, this team's going to be scary good, guys. Look out for them because they're going to be scary good. Couple years from now, but for now, just not there. The Ottawa Senators. Like I said, Ottawa Senators, you missed the playoffs last year. Little bitty. But you made it this year. I'm having you penciled in 4th in the Atlantic Divisions. The departures don't outweigh the arrivals. Tarasenko, Kubalik, McEwen, Giroux. You added depth, you added leadership, you added chutzpah. So I think you're going to make playoffs this year. Good on you. Tampa. Tampa. They are the stalwarts of the Atlantic Division. They are going to be first in the Atlantic Division. Now, they could be first in the Atlantic Division, or they could be 7th in the Atlantic Division. It will all depend on Vasilevsky and if he's available or not. Lately, rumors have been he will not be available. I don't know about that. I think it's just head games. We will see. On to the Maple Leafs of Toronto. Toronto Maple Leafs turnover. Made it past round 1. Congratulations to the Toronto Maple Leaf fan base. You know what it's like to be in round 2. Still haven't won a game in round 2, but congratulations to you nonetheless. This year, you're going to get third in the Atlantic Division. Again, you're going to be there. You've got too good of a team to not make playoffs. So it's just another 82-game rehearsal unless the goaltending falters. That is going to be the one caveat and the downside to a lot of these teams. If goaltending is not good, you will not be good. So, like I said, that's your Atlantic Division. Let me know how you guys feel with that. Are my rankings out to lunch? Am I completely wrong on thinking Boston's going to drop down? Or am I right? We will find out. Moving on to the Metropolitan Division. Starting off with the red-hot Carolina Hurricanes. They had a pretty good season last year. Did they ever? I have them finishing second in the Metro. Again, they're going to be a team that makes playoffs. They've had a few changes, but nothing overly to be concerned about. Personally, they're going to be a good team. They're fine. Moving on to Columbus. Oh, Columbus. What can you say? What can you say about this team? There's just nothing good to be said about this team at all. And I don't know if you can fix it. I don't know who can fix it. So 8th place in the Metro, battling Montreal for the number 1 overall draft pick. Hopefully you guys get it. If not, Capigi. Moving on to the New Jersey Devils. I have the Devils winning the Metro, winning the President's Trophy. I believe that highly in this staff of what they have in goaltending, what they have on defense, and how they score goals. They are structured really well. They play a really team-first style of game that a lot of teams could look at and be like, why are they successful? Why? Jersey just plays Jersey-style hockey. Moving on to the Islanders. 93 points last year, made the playoffs. I have them finishing 3rd in the Metro this year. They didn't really have anybody come in to join. They've lost a few players. But I still believe that this goaltending tandem that they have is going to be good enough to propel them into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to do damage when they're in the playoffs, but they're going to make the dance. Moving on to the New York Rangers. Same thing. They've added pieces. They lost some pieces. Like they lost their hired guns that they hired at the trade deadline last year to make their playoff run. Didn't really work out for them. Sorry, Kane. Sorry, Tarasenko. Adios, amigos. It just didn't work out for you. But they did add Wheeler. They added Pitlick, Bonino, Gustafsson, and a backup goalie in Quick. And yes, Quick is a backup or a third string at best. We will see how this team goes. I think it'll go as far as the goaltending goes, as far as the defense goes. They've got weapons. They've got really good weapons. They're going to finish 4th in the Metro, make the playoffs. Who knows? They could do some damage when there. And again, this is all before trade deadline, before trades happen. So, like I said, all this could change at deadline day, where it's just up in smoke, a hoifa of stuff to do. And that's what it is, right? Deadline day is amazing for us. Moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, Flyers, what are we? Are we building? Are we steadfast in what we have? Are we there? Are we not there? Are we on the cusp? Are we pushing forward? There will be momentum gained. I just don't think it'll be enough. Philly will miss the playoffs this year. They added Pooling, Hathaway, Mark Stahl, Pedersen, the goalie from LA. They added stuff, but I just think what they lost is more than what they gained. And moving on to Pittsburgh. Yes, Pittsburgh Penguin fans, throw the pitchfork at me, get mad at me, yell at me a little bit. I understand. I will take the heat for this. If I am wrong about these two teams, I will take the heat. Excuse me. Now, I have Pittsburgh missing the playoffs again this year. And yes, they got Carlson. Great, they got Carlson. They still have Crosby. They still have a Tang. They still have Malkin. But I'm coming at this injury-wise. They're not a healthy team. They won't be healthy all 82 games. And if they have one or two injuries, you're going to see the same thing that happened last year happen this year. And I think personally, and this is obviously my personal opinion, don't come at me like this is God's gospel, Carlson there will get points. He'll get stats. But do we all remember what happened when Carlson and Burns played defense together in San Jose? Do we? Do we remember? I remember. It didn't work out well. Sure, they got their points. But Carlson needs to be 1. Not 1A, not 1B, not 1 half, not 1 if. He needs to be 1. Number 1. Letang has been number 1 there since early 2000s. For as long as I can remember, not really 2000s, but you guys know what I mean. He's been there forever as number 1 defenseman. Is Letang willing to take a step back and be that defensive defenseman and let Carlson get the glory and the praise for being the offensive guy on the number 1 power play, scoring goals, getting assists, putting up points? If he's not, we're going to see a San Jose 2.0 in Pittsburgh. And just like in Pittsburgh, one's got to go, Letang or Carlson. Just like in San Jose, one had to go, Burns or Carlson. It's just the facts be facts, kids. We're moving on to the Washington Capitals. Yeah, they got Ovi. They've got Edmondson that they've added at the arrival. But they lost Brown. They lost Ehlers. They lost Gustafsson. They lost Hathaway. They lost Johansson. They lost Shuri. They lost a lot of pieces, and that goaltending is not that great. Maybe they might have learned from last season. They might have learned, and they might have picked it up a lot of it or a little bit. But you can't have Ovi scoring and just out there thinking about his goal pace. The team needs to be more than Ovi in the offensive zone, give Ovi the puck, let Ovi shoot, let Ovi score. He can't score 82 empty net goals. It's just the way it is, folks. I know, shoot the messenger. Shoot the messenger. I don't think Washington's making the playoffs. They're not going to miss by much, but I just don't see them as a playoff team. Moving forward to the Central. Boy, the Central. What can I say? We're going to start off with the Arizona Coyotes. They finished bottom barrel last year. I know, Coyotes fans, this rebuild has been 20 years in the making. When is it going to be enough's enough? Move the teams out of Arizona. Move them out of the Phoenix, Glendale, Tempe area. Get them into Houston. Get them into Quebec. Get them into Hamilton. Get them into Saskatoon. Get them anywhere but Arizona. Okay, so I have them obviously missing the playoffs, but just by a little bit. I think they've done a lot to improve. They've added Zucker, they added Dumba, they added Jersey and Dermott and Stretcher. I just don't think it's enough offensively, and they're still young. Like let's not pretend that the kids aren't just in their first and second, third years. They're still young kids that will develop, and this team is going to be good for years to come, just not right now. We're moving on to the Chicago Blackhawks. And I know I'm going to get the pitchforks thrown at me again for this one. Chicago's going to be in 8th place in the Central. They're not going to be battling for the sweepstakes of first overall, but they're not going to be good. Look, guys, say what you want. Bedard's only going to do so much. Hall, he needs to learn how to play with Bedard. As an Oiler fan, we saw what Hall was when he played with McDavid. Now, has he matured since those days where it was he needed the puck, but hey, bud, you got this superstar rookie. He needs the puck too. Same thing I'm going to see. Same thing I'm going to look for. Will Hall be able to facilitate to Bedard, or is it going to be 2 guys, 1 puck? And that's not a dirty joke. Please keep quiet. So again, I have them finishing last in the Central Division, but still 5th or 6th in the West, like bottom. So they're not in any shape of being in the sweepstakes unless they win the lottery again, which would be scary funny. Now here's where I'm going to get a lot of flack. Colorado being as good as Colorado is and Colorado was. I have them missing the playoffs this year. Barely, smidge margin. They're going to be battling for that last wild card spot with obviously Minnesota, Nashville, Vancouver, Calgary, Vegas. They're all going to be battling for that little 1-2 spots in the wild card. I just think with Landeskog being out a full year again and health issues, they're a couple injuries away from being a bottom feeder team. And I don't believe in their goaltending. Again, it comes back to goaltending. I don't believe in their goaltending. Now, on the other side of this, Dallas, they're going to finish first. They lost Glenn Denning. Fine, they lost Miller, but they fit roles. They got Duchesne, they got Craig Smith, and they got Sam Steele. Great character guys, third, fourth line guys. They're following the Tampa Bay plan. Pay your top stars millions and millions and millions, and pay your third and fourth line guys peanuts, hundreds and hundreds of hundreds. That's what it looks like in Dallas. I like their defensive structure. I see Dallas and New Jersey being two of those teams that just find ways to do things that they shouldn't be able to do, like win games. Moving on to the Wild, I have the Wild finishing third in the Central Division. They lost Dumba, they lost Yost, they lost Steele. Interesting move there. But they gained Maroon. They gained one, lost 5 or 6, gained one. It happens, right? Like turnover. I like their defensive structure. Yes, it's the trap style. It's boring. Nobody likes boring hockey, so people tell me. But boring hockey wins hockey games. I'll get into more of this because I'm an Oilers fan, as we all know. We don't play boring hockey. We win more than we lose, but we could win a lot more if we played more of a structural defensive hockey. Nashville had a down year last year by everybody's standards. I don't see that happening again this year. I don't see Nashville being a bad team this year like they were last year. They're going to finish 4th in the Central. They're going to make playoffs. They added O'Reilly. They added Nyquist and Shen. They added depth pieces. They did add what other teams added. Like I said, around them, the teams around them might have stood fast. They moved up. They got goaltender named Saros. Like, there's no way Saros has 2 bad years in a row. Thus, I feel they're going to make the playoffs this year. Moving on forward to the St. Louis Blues. Blues last year missed the playoffs. Again, it's going to happen again, St. Louis. It's a struggle in the Blues country. It's hard to watch sometimes because you don't know what the Blues are going to be. You were last place, and then you won the cup. You thought you could capture that lightning in a bottle again. It didn't happen last year, and it's not going to happen again this year. You've lost too much, and you haven't added enough to supplement that. Moving on to the last team in the Central Division, the Winnipeg Jets. Now, another team that had a bad year last year and just barely missed the playoffs. Hollebuck was up and down, up and down. You were riding a roller coaster of waves of mental emotions in Winnipeg. That's not going to happen this year with Hollebuck. I think Hollebuck and Brossoit back behind him as a backup with his cup experience. Winnipeg is going to be a scary team to play this year. And we play them a lot. And I'm not going to say worried because I don't really worry about things. But they're going to be a team to look out for. They will be a team that surprise teams. They're going to finish 2nd in the Central Division. That's my thoughts. But yeah, I just think that they're going to be one of those teams that will definitely surprise people. And like I said, I don't think Hollaback's going to have a bad year like he had last year. That was crazy last year, how he was Vezina winning, but yet just so bad. Moving on to the very last division, the Pacific Division, my division. I like this division. We're going to see the worst teams in the league in this division. Yes, we are going to see the worst 2 teams in the NHL in this division. I'll say my bottom 6 teams in no particular order, except for the bottom 3. Montreal, Anaheim, and San Jose are going to be the bottom 3. And after that, it's going to be the Chicagos, the Arizonas, the Detroits, the Boston. It's just going to be a mix of teams after that. But the bottom 3 are going to be Montreal, Anaheim, and San Jose. And we're going to start in Anaheim. Boys, can you figure out what you want to do with Zegras? He's a good talent, but to me, and in my humble opinion, he's a one-trick pony that does the Michigan way too often, and now teams are battling against that. Get better. And Gibson, I don't think Gibson's going to have a bad year this year. I just don't see him having a big bounce-back year. They're going to finish 7th in the Pacific Division. That's just fine. Now we're going to move on to Calgary. Same thing with Calgary. They're going to have a bounce-back year. Last year was bad. Excuse me. Last year was bad. Sutter, what? You knew he was out, and he didn't care. He was just like, this is my swan song. I'm out of here. I'm going to mess shit up. And he did. He messed a lot of stuff up. But they lost Lewis. They lost Lucic. They lost McKay. They lost Ritchie. They lost Toffoli. And they only gained, really, Osterley. I don't know what this team is going to be. And again, it's going to come down to goaltending. They could battle for that wild card if Markstrom figures out the mental hurdle that's in his head. And I will say the Oilers can take claim to mentally fucking up the Calgary Flames. Because by them putting out the Flames 2 years ago in the playoffs, they haven't been the same since. Prove me wrong, and we'll talk. But for now, the Flames are going to finish 6th in the Pacific Division, miss the playoffs, and might have to do another rebuild. But that arena's coming. That arena's coming, right? So, hey, why blow it all before the arena? Wait till you get that arena. Now we're going to move on to the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, we're not going to touch too much on the Oilers, as we did the whole Oilers preview. Go check out that video if you haven't checked it out yet. The Oilers will finish 1st in the Pacific Division. Their departures are obviously Murray, Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, Benspin, Clefbaum, and Smith have both retired. T's and P's. Enjoy your retirement, guys. You guys are well worth. Once an Oiler, always an Oiler. Can't say too much. You can never say anything bad about Smith or Clefbaum. You can, but what's the point? Why? It's all good. We got what the Oilers gained was Connor Brown. They gained Pedersen and Kajula. If you're watching any of the preseason, Connor Brown, one game that he's played, looked good. Pedersen in the games that he has played has looked great. And Kajula is Kajula. He is an AHL player. Could see some time in the NHL. I hope the best for Kajula as an Oiler draft pick. Not an Oiler draft pick, but as a former Oiler, come back home. I think that he's going to play a few games in the NHL, and it'll help the Oilers out if he's in a bottom 6. Just my opinion. I think him in the bottom 6 is a good role, and he's a mucker. I like it. I think he'll do well here in Edmonton. Moving on to the LA Kings. Last year they made the playoffs. We're out in the first round. They will make the playoffs again this year, and they will be scary good again this year. They lost Edler. They lost Lemieux. They lost Pedersen, Velarde, Walker, Ingram. They gained Talbot, and they gained Lewis. Lewis came back home to LA. I don't think it's enough in the playoffs what they did. Who's your starting goalie? That is going to be my biggest caveat right now with the LA Kings. They could finish 2nd. They could also finish 6th. because of goaltending. Who's going to be your goalie? Are you going to rely on Talbot to be your number one goalie? I don't know. I hope for Talbot. I love Talbot as a human being, and I really hope nothing but success for him. I just don't know how it's going to go in LA. So we're going to move on to another team that I don't have any hopes for at all. The San Jose Sharks. I mean, will you get better than last year, or are you going to just stay the same or be worse? You can't be worse than last year, right? But we never know. Sharks are going to finish 8th in the Pacific, near the bottom of the standings. Again, hope for that wild card spot. Moving to the Seattle Kraken, surprise year last year. They did have a 100-point season. I don't see them having a 100-point season this year. I don't see many teams having 100-point seasons this year. Last year there was a lot of teams that hit the 100-point plateau. I just don't see that being a thing this year. But they will make the playoffs. They lost a few players, but they added a few players, and the players they added were depth. Belmar, Dumoulin, Yamamoto went back home. I wish the best for Yamamoto. Of course, they just signed Short recently too. But I wish the best for Kid. I just don't like his size and his concussion problems. That's my worry about players, is once they've had a concussion, one concussion leads to two, two leads to three, three leads to four, four leads to out the door. Make the playoffs. Second, they're going to finish 3rd in the Pacific. Make the playoffs and ride that wave into the playoffs. And who knows, anything can happen once May starts. April, May. Vancouver Canucks. Oh boy, the Canucks. This is a team of conundrums. They got the goaltending. They got the solid defense now that they've added Saucy and Ian Cole. They've lost pieces. Horvat gone. Lazar gone. Shen gone. Stillman gone. Ekman Larson gone. They've lost pieces. I'm not saying they haven't lost, but I think the pieces they added will supplement the losses. And Demko having a solid breakout year this year is going to propel them to a playoff spot. Wild card, but playoff spot. They will be battling the Vegases, the Vegases, the Flames, the Avalanche. They'll be battling those type of teams for the playoff spot. Will he be mentally ready? I don't know. That's what the fun of the season is. And the final team of the NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights, the 2022-2023 Stanley Cup champions. Round of applause to the Vegas Golden Knights. Enjoy it. Watch the highlights. Relive it like it was the glory days. It may never happen again. They're going to finish 5th in the Pacific, miss the playoffs. I just think they've lost too much, and they are going to have the Stanley Cup hangover as an older team. You're going to see injuries happen, much like last year. But unlike last year, they're not going to be saved by the LTR contracts. There's no trade deadline saviors to come save you guys. There's no cap circumventing saving you guys this year. Enjoy your run that happened. Relive it. Rewatch it. Shove it in my face every chance you get. I don't mind. We live in the here. We live in the now. It's another team's turn to lift Lord Stanley's Cup. And no, I'm not going to get into that in this video because that video will be saved for after the season starts. But for now, here is your big board of what I feel the NHL top 16 is going to look out. We're going to go out east, starting with the New Jersey Devils, finishing 1st in the East, followed by Carolina, Tampa, Florida, New York Islanders, Toronto Maple Leafs, New York Rangers, and the Ottawa Senators squeaking in to that 8th spot. BW correspondingly has the Rangers in 1st, Carolina in 2nd, Toronto in 3rd, New Jersey in 4th, Florida in 5th, Pittsburgh in 6th, Washington in 7th, and Ottawa in 8th. See, we don't always agree. It doesn't mean I don't like the guy anymore any less. We don't always agree, and I'm okay with not agreeing with everybody all the time. How boring would life be? In the West, I have the Edmonton Oilers, the Dallas Stars, the Los Angeles Kings, the Seattle Kraken, Winnipeg Jets, Minnesota not the North Stars, the Minnesota Wild, the Nashville Predators, and the Vancouver Millionaires. I'm joking, the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, I do have a lot of Canadian teams making the playoffs. We need more Canadian content in the playoffs. BW traversely has the Edmonton Oilers, the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche, the Los Angeles Kings, Vegas Golden Knights, Seattle Kraken, Minnesota Wild, Arizona Coyotes. What? Arizona? Damn! Alright, I will not dispute that. He's got the Arizona Coyotes. Alright, that's an interesting pick by BW. Way off the board, but hey. It is what it is, as they say, right? So anyways, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, thank you for watching. And remember, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what I've missed. Let me know if I'm out to lunch on any of these picks. If I'm correct, if I'm not correct. What I could work on, what I don't need to work on. Just certain things like that. If you feel like I'm wrong, let me know. If you feel like you guys could do better, let me know what your predictions are. Where do you see the teams at the end of the year? Do you see them 1 through 8 in the East, 1 through 8 in the West? Let me know. As always, my name is Matt for Oilers After Dark. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.